Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Empower You 2 podcast. Season 3. Super excited. I am your girl, Natasha Paris, your resident therapist, as well as your empowerment strategist. And I will be your guide as you journey through this episode, because what I want to do is give you something that will empower you, that will inspire you, that will motivate you to becoming the best version of yourself. Yes. And so with that said, I want you to do 3 things. I want you to go to your favorite platform and hit that 5-star button, because let me tell you, this episode that you're about to listen to is going to be fire. It's going to really support your growth and help you understand that some of the things that you may be doing may not be productive. However, I have some potential solutions that can really change the trajectory of your life. So automatically in advance, I want you to hit that 5-star button on your favorite platform. Second thing is, I want you to share this podcast. Share this podcast with someone that you know. Maybe you don't know them. Share this podcast, because guess what? Sharing is caring. And third, I want to hear from you. If this podcast or this particular upcoming episode has resonated for you or with you, I want you to do something for me. I want you to comment. I want to hear from you. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram, Natasha Paris 4, the number 4, the letter U, and or Facebook, Natasha Paris St. Amand, Empower You 2 podcast. And of course, we have our nonprofit organization, Girls Unapologetically Reaching Levels Successfully. So if you ever want to donate, we are here because we are inspiring not just women, not just men, but we are inspiring girls around not just the country, but around the world to becoming the best versions of themselves. So go to supportgirls, GURLS.org if you want to donate. So with that said, let's get ready, because this upcoming episode is about to change your life. You ready? Let's go. Hello, my friends. I am so excited to come before you. I am your resident therapist, here to support you through as many concerns and issues that you are actually going through right now or have been through it, and you're still trying to figure out what is happening. Well, welcome to the Empower You 2 podcast. I am your host, Natasha Paris, and I am here to support you. I'm here to encourage you, and more than anything else, I am here to empower you for something so much greater than you could ever imagine. And so let's journey with me into episode 176, season 3. Let's go, my friend, season 3. And so with that said, we have an exciting episode today, because it's an episode that I believe that many people could actually relate to, like experiencing tragedy, experiencing loss, and making a decision to turn those things that were meant to kill and destroy you and turning it into something that has taken you and propelled you into your greatest self. Because what I know for sure is that it's all about changing your perspective. So for today's episode 176, let's journey with me into this specific topic, and it's titled Turning Your Lemons into Lemonade. Turning your lemons into lemonade. My friends, we've all had those moments when life throws us something unexpected, something that's painful or frustrating at us. But what if those lemons are really the ingredients for something so much sweeter? What if that laid off job propelled you into entrepreneurship? What if that divorce brought you closer to God more than you could have ever have gotten if it wasn't from the tragedy or the divorce or the loss? My friends, well, today's episode, we are going to talk more about it. And we're going to give you some possible solutions. And I'm going to use my own life as an example and the lives of other individuals that have laid on my couch, shared their stories, cried, saw their lives turned upside down. But then moments later, they realized why it turned upside down. But when God turned it upside down, it brought them closer to God, and they were able to get more, double, I should say, what they lost. And so when I talk about turning those lemons into lemonade, you've heard that. You've heard it, right? You've heard that metaphor. And that metaphor basically is saying, taking your struggles, taking the things that have been meant to hurt you, taking those things that are bitter, that are sour, that make you frustrated and angry, and turning it into something that's sweet, using those situations for the betterment of yourself and everyone that's connected to you. That's what that means. So how do we look at our lives when things are lemons? Well, what we know for sure is that those challenges can actually be opportunities in disguise, my friends. It may actually be opportunities in disguise. I mean, of course, if you're going through it, you're like, okay, Natasha Paris, all right, thank you for the information, but I don't see it. All I see is tragedy. All I see is loss. All I see is just so much frustration and anger and sorrow. I cannot even see my hands before my face. And you are telling me that this is supposed to be for my good? I don't believe you. Well, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying to you. Because what I know for sure, and in my own life, I remember when I had gone through a divorce, and it seemed as though that divorce just literally snowballed into everything and so much more. I lost my job. Even as a licensed clinician, I was working for an organization and I lost my job. And for the life of me, no one would hire me. And all I remember was crying and being upset. And I just couldn't see my hand before my face. And as a result of losing my job, being depressed about my divorce, even though it was a mutual understanding that that's what we were going to do, I was at the time actually renting a home, and I fell 4 months behind. I went through all my savings, all of my investments just to keep afloat. Because at the time I had 2 young children. I had a 3.5-year-old and I had a 5.5-year-old. And when I tell you, it was so much. And one day I was in that place of sorrow. I was crying and I just tried I didn't want my kids to see me cry. But one day I was in that place and I was just overwhelmed with stress and anxiety and sadness. And I was crying. And I felt a finger tap me on the shoulder. And I quickly was startled and I looked back, and it was my baby girl who said to me, "Mommy, why you cry? You're crying?" And when I tell you, my friends, that shook me to the core, because I never wanted my children to see me in that space. And it was at that point that I made a decision that I was not going to wallow in all of what was happening to me. I wanted to focus on something else. I said to myself, I have to focus on something else. And I had remembered that I had written down on a piece of paper all of the things that I wanted to accomplish and to do. And one of those things that I kept putting off was to start a Bible study where I would communicate and get with all of my girlfriends from around the country, because I had a lot of different friends who had moved out of New York and moved to California and some were still in New York and in Philadelphia and New Orleans. And I made a decision that I was going to start this Bible study, and we would be women on a line talking about God and praying for one another. And it was at that moment I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to start a Bible line for any person that wanted prayer and wanted to really just reflect on God's word and what God could do for you, and just really giving us an opportunity and a safe space to share. And at that moment, that next day, I literally wrote down the actual format, and I was going to have it on a Wednesday night at 9:00 p.m. And when I tell you, my friends, when I began to focus on that, I had close to about 25 women on the line at one point, and women's lives were changing. They were praying and they were seeing the fruits of their prayer. And my friends, guess what happened? I stopped focusing on what wasn't happening. I started focusing on what could happen and the work that I could do in someone else's life. And it was at that moment when I became consistent with it. And I'm going to tell you, it was 9 years later, like I was doing it every Wednesday at 9:00 for 9 years, rarely missing a actual Wednesday night Bible study. My friends, things began to shift for me when I stopped focusing on what I could not control. And let me tell you, it wasn't that I was ignoring what was happening in my life. I applied for positions. I talked to my landlord. I borrowed money just to catch up. And it was a shift that happened. I was happier. I was less stressed because I wasn't focusing on what I couldn't change. And that's when a job came through. And that's when, I was able to, like I said, renegotiate or negotiate payments for my home that I was renting. Things began to shift. And what I realized at that moment was that God just wanted me to do the things that could really empower other people. Now, almost 7 years later, I have a podcast that is called Empower You 2 Podcast. I'm empowering women. I have a girls program that is a nonprofit that supports girls all around, not just the country, but around the world. I'm doing things that really ignite my motivation, and that is to help people. But I wasn't doing it to the extent before. But after that lemon situation, oh my goodness, I took that lemon and I made lemonade. And so, my friends, I'm sure you've heard of those stories that people who may have gotten laid off, and then before you know it, it allowed them to start a cookie business. You heard about those women who lost their job during COVID and they started a cookie business, and it exploded. And even to the point where Oprah heard about it. And you know, when Oprah touches something, it turns into gold. Okay. Right. And so what am I saying is that rejection can lead to a better opportunity. Right? That struggle can build a level of resilience and empathy that you never knew existed within you. And what I know very often, and I've told my clients and friends and family who've gone through situations, I've said that it is not because you cannot handle it. God will not give you more than you can handle. That is for sure. And what He is also doing is building you up for so much more, because He knows you can handle it. And He's just really, because when you think about it, a diamond, in order for it to shine, it has to go through the fire. It has to go through pressure. And of course, we don't always like those places. We don't like those places that we have to go through. So I'm going to give you just 4 steps. Things that you can do to change the lemons that have been thrown at you and turn it into something so sweet, my friends. Something that you would like to share with others when they come over and you say, you know what? Do you want a glass of lemonade, some cold lemonade? Well, the first thing is I want you to reframe the situation. Look at the lemons as lessons. Look at those lemons as lessons, my friends. Reframe how you're seeing it. Don't see it as, oh my goodness, I must have done something horrible in my lifetime that I'm being persecuted for. No, don't look at it with that glasses or those glasses, because if you do, it's going to cause you to fall deeper and deeper into that hole. Reframe how you see it. The second is I want you to practice gratitude, my friends. Identify one good thing that came out of that challenge. You know, especially with so many people being laid off and so much going on in the world as we know it. There are people who hated their job. They hated going to work. The only time that they were excited about work was when they were being paid every 2 weeks, the 15th and 30th. That was the only time they showed some sense of joy. But check this out. The more that you said, I hate this job, I don't like it. And guess what? Now, the one thing that's good about it, you don't have to deal with that crazy boss anymore. Okay? You don't have to deal with having to go into a place that you hate. Yes, okay, granted, you need your bills paid. I understand that. I'm not discounting that. But look at the one good thing, because guess what, my friends? What you focus on grows. Whatever you focus on, it grows. If you're focusing on what you cannot control, it grows into something so much more that it becomes that monster when you're a little kid that's under your bed that you're super scared of. I want you to focus on the positive. Second thing is, I want you to look at your life and understand that you're getting stronger despite what that trial looks like. Because if you focus on what you cannot control, it becomes worse. Number 4 is I want you to share your story. Something and sometimes helping others with your lemons is the real lemonade. Come on now. Helping others, letting them know that you've been through this and you're going through this, but we can go through it together. Because guess what? The next man may not be as resilient as you are. They may not be as strong. They may be thinking about taking their life because of all of the lemons that have been sent their way, thrown at them. But if you share your story and you let others know that Yes, it's hard. Yes, it doesn't feel good. Yes, it's very frustrating and overwhelming. But you can take those situations and find the light at the end of the tunnel. My friends, it's important for you to understand you may not be able to change the lemons life gives you, but you can certainly choose how you respond. It is a decision. It's a decision to worry about the things that you cannot change. It's a decision to say, I am not going to worry because that's not of God. I'm going to let the day take place. It's going to do what it's going to do, but I'm going to focus on what I can change. Your perspective can solely sweeten the most bitter season in your life. My friends, I want you to know that there are things that are going to be thrown at you, and sometimes it comes at you like a machine gun, like one thing after another, and you're just like, I can't do this anymore. And if you're thinking about not doing it anymore, I want you to be motivated and encouraged today. I want you to know that someone hears you. Someone feels your discouragement. Someone knows what you're feeling and have also experienced it as well. And I want you to know you are being heard. You are being seen. But what I want you to do is not stay in that place of hurt. Because yes, it is what it is, but it doesn't have to be that forever. It's just a season. It is just a moment in your life. And I want you to know that you will get out of it if you just get up from the mud that you're in right now and start walking. Don't look back. Don't focus on how smelly the mud is. Don't focus on the fact that there's so many flies. Don't focus on how sticky and dirty it feels. Just focus on getting out of the mud. Take your attention off of what you cannot control and put your attention on things that you can control, like your decision to not worry. And so let's really do a quick recap of how you turn those lemons into lemonade. First things first, I want you to reframe how you see the situation. Look at those lemons as lessons. It's getting you ready for the battle. It's getting you stronger. It's getting you to look at your life with much more gratitude. And that's the second one, is practice gratitude. Identify one good thing that came out of that difficult situation. The next is, I want you to look at this as building your resiliency. Focus on what you can control. I'm going to keep saying that. Focus on what you can control. The other one and the other tip is, I want you to share your story. Share your story, because helping others, man, I told you about what happened to me when I made the decision to help others. It was then my life began to change, and I turned that lemon, those lemons that were sent my way, I turned it into real lemonade. Something that was digestible, something that I can share and say, hey, do you want some cold lemonade, my friends? And so with that said, I want you to always know that life is going to have its ups and downs. But this week, think about one lemon in your life right now. What would it look like if you added some sugar, my friends? a little bit of water and turned it into lemonade. Come on now. This is where you need to be, because God will not give you more than what you can bear. Believe that. Take it to the bank. Believe it. And so with that said, I hope this episode 176 resonated with you. And I hope that you were able to take something from this and live a victorious life. Because as I close, as I often say, I want you to be empowered for greatness. Because without greatness, there's no you. And without you, there's absolutely no greatness. My friends, you are built for this. And so let's go. Turn those lemons into lemonade. I'm your host, Natasha Paris, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Bye.